funny how like these lights make it a little harder for me to see. I can't decide if I want glasses
Really?
on or off.
You can hit that light if you want.
No. I have too much light.
All right.
I'm better when it's dark.
Here we are.
Younger.
Facebook.
Hello.
What's up, everybody? Hey, welcome back. We always go live at the most random part of the conversation.
I was talking about the light. The new lighting in here is very bright.
But hey, Facebook, welcome back to the party. We are excited for this episode of the podcast. Thanks for joining us. We are going to welcome our recorded audience in a second. So if you do us a favor while we are welcoming them, why don't you take a second and share this on your page? I know last week a few people were like, how do I share it? How do I share it?
Right.
It should just be right under the post that says share.
Share.
So just
don't
click
be scared
that
of that share button.
If it's not there, I'm sorry. I'm not making fun of you. I just actually think that's where the share button is right under the post. But give it a shot.
And for the person who asked that, thank you, because it made me look, because I was like, I don't know how to share it either.
Well, that's because you don't have Facebook. So
that's
a whole
I was
different
stalking my
ballgame.
husband's. I was on my husband's Facebook, and then I figured it out.
Oh, good for you. All right. So let's dive in and let's get started, because we are going to do this podcast in 20 minutes or
20
less.
minutes.
20 minutes. Here we go.
That's it. While you're
Ready?
eating breakfast.
We're diving in. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for checking out this week's episode of the Discipleship Track podcast. I'm your host, Pastor Rob, joined, as always, by the awesome Patsy Prati. Patsy, say what's up.
Good morning.
And we are here with you because we believe that God has called us to live a life that is fully devoted to Him. But in order to do that, we got to put in a little bit of work. It's not going to happen on its own. So we record these podcasts almost each and every week so that you can grow on the go. So we hope you'll take us with you wherever you are, whether you're cooking in the kitchen, walking the dog, eating breakfast, like Patsy just said, in the car, driving to work, wherever it may be. We want to be there with you so that we can grow together and we can continue to grow the community of people here that want to live a life that is fully devoted to Him. And we decided that today's podcast is going to be about 20 minutes, so I'm not going to beat around the bush any longer. We're going to dive right into our topic this morning. So, Patsy, take it away.
I was going to say it's 20 minutes, but we're just going to talk really fast. We're going to say just as much, really, really much faster than usual.
Totally.
Anyway, so today I want to talk about the awesome and or the dreaded snooze button. Do you got one? You got your snooze on your phone? You got your snooze on your alarm?
I hit the snooze on my phone,
okay,
yes.
So let me just tell you a little story.
Oh,
the other
story
day,
time with Patsy.
Story
Here
time
we
with
go.
Patsy. Here we go, everybody. Cozy up to the fire now while I tell you a little story.
Speaking of fire, once again, it is ridiculously hot in here.
Notice the clothing that
Yes.
we're trying to like wear. Well, I was going to say we're trying to wear less, but then this won't be a Christian podcast
We're going to get
anymore.
censored. We can't afford that. No, please.
We're still going to stay appropriate, but a little less clothing so we're not sweating.
Gosh.
Anyway, so the other day, so here's the funny thing. On my iPhone, I could even show you. I set like 4 alarms. I don't know why I feel obligated to do that, but I set like 4 alarms because I know I'm going to hit the snooze button. So the alarms are going off the other day. I'm so tired. I don't want to get out of bed, and I keep hitting snooze, 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 snooze. But I have a bad back, like most people who are over 50, Rob.
I'm not
I
over
have
50.
a bad back.
I don't know why you're
okay?
looking at me. I'm not
so,
over 50.
No, because I know he's going to mock me for being older.
No, I would never do that.
Okay, yeah.
Nope.
Okay. Anyway, so I have a bad back, and I know if I lay in bed too long, my back starts to really hurt. I kept hitting the snooze, hitting the snooze, hitting the snooze, and then I couldn't get out of bed.
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't stand up.
Do you have one of those bracelets for when you can't get up?
I need the
that you hit the
thing.
button?
I've fallen and I can't get up,
Hit the
and
button.
I don't have that. And
That's right. You
nobody is going to come to help me in my house because it's like I've been parenting for 28 years and I'm like, hey, and nobody answers. So anyway, all that to say, it got me thinking. It got me thinking about alarms in life and where are alarms going off in our lives and where might we be hitting the snooze button. I like over spiritualized something that really happened to me and how difficult I thought if I had gotten out of bed when the alarm first went off, I wouldn't have had the back problem. And truly, I suffered for the rest of the day. Because it was just aching all day long.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is really my fault. I should have just gotten up. I knew what I was supposed to do, and I didn't do it. And I promise you guys, all day long, I thought about that. I thought, where are other alarms going off in my life that I'm doing, that I'm hitting the snooze button, I'm doing nothing about it, and I'm just, dealing with pain that's my fault. So I thought first, let's talk about what are alarms that make you jump, that really do truly get your attention? Like what's alarms, sirens, what things get your attention that you respond to?
Well, it's funny because certain alarms I've noticed in my life get my attention, but not for the reasons that they're supposed to get my attention.
Okay.
Like, case in point, a fire alarm, right? Like, and I have a good story about this one too.
Okay.
So story time with
Story time with
Patsy.
Rob.
But and I wonder if anybody else feels this way too. But like, seriously, think about it. When was the last time that a fire alarm went off and you actually thought, "Oh my gosh, there's a fire"? right? Like whether it's in school or your job or whatever it is, usually the fire alarm goes off and you're like, oh my gosh, how annoying.
Right.
Like, this
You think
is ridiculous.
It's the test.
Yeah, like here at the building where we're recording this, when the fire alarm goes off, it's like the law that the fire department and the police and everybody have to show up.
Wow, so it's a party.
It's awful. And like you just know when it goes off, you're like, well, there's the next 45 minutes of my day that I have to stand outside and wait for them to go find out that, hey, there's
it's a false alarm.
No fire.
Yeah.
So that's really what catches my attention, but it's not because I think there's a fire. And there's one time that comes to mind when I was a youth pastor here at Powerhouse for about 11 years. And one of those 11 years, we decided to take the kids on a retreat.
Yeah.
And we've done a few of them, but this year in particular kind of jumped out at me because we get to the place where we were going to our retreat and the power went out. Like there was a really bad storm and there was no electric.
I hate that.
So that was terrible because you have a bunch of Bergen County kids that have no idea how to entertain themselves. So
it's like darkness, what's that?
So it's like, okay, well, whatever. So we made the best of it. And then we went to bed. And Saturday morning, we're laying in bed. It's like 5:30 in the morning. And all of a sudden, the fire alarm goes off. And I am not a morning person, right? Like
he's not.
I don't do my time with Jesus in the morning because I don't feel like it's right to give him that piece of me. Like,
and I think Jesus is okay with him.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, you're cool, man. You come to me in the afternoon. So the alarm goes off and it's like 5:30 and I'm like, oh, this is awful. Like just stop. So the kids are like, Rob, the fire alarm's going off. I'm like, it's fine. Somebody just burned the bacon. Like they're getting ready for breakfast. Just leave it, go back to bed and don't bother me.
What a great youth leader
right?
you are.
So I literally had 30 kids' lives in my hands in this moment, and the fire alarm's going off, and I decided to stay in bed and tell all of them to stay in bed. So the thing keeps going off, like it doesn't stop, and I'm like, this is unbelievable. So one of the kids goes, Rob, I think something's wrong. I'm like, dude, just relax and go back to sleep. Yeah. So he opens the door, and he looks down the stairs, and there is smoke pouring out of the door.
No.
So I'm like, everybody get up right now, get downstairs, we have to go outside.
Oh my gosh.
So it turns out that that night, because there was no electric, somebody lit a candle in case anybody had to go downstairs to go to the bathroom. Oh. And it was one of the candles that was on the wall.
And the whole wall was on fire. So this is a fire.
It was an actual fire.
Oh,
like a real one. Fire
goodness.
Department, everything, because they had to put out a fire.
So how did you get the kids out?
The other stairwell.
Well, God was truly
so
with
I
you.
could have killed like 30 kids.
Okay, but great example. I mean,
it was not.
Okay.
It was not the bacon.
And you disclosed this to all the parents already, right? Like,
yeah,
this is
thank
the first
God
time
I don't do youth ministry
out.
anymore.
Yeah, we fired him from that job.
Yeah, exactly.
Now he's with me.
I fired myself.
Anyway, but what a great example for us to use today, because when you ignore an alarm, you can get yourself into big trouble. And like, thank God that the kid stepped up and said, Pastor Rob, something's going on.
He was a real hero, let me tell you.
Yeah. But God sends people like that into your life. God sends someone to be the hero when you're ignoring the alarm. I think that that's very true. I think that we see that in Scripture. I know that we have the same thing at our work. Smoke alarms go off all the time, and it's always a test, and it scares the heck out of you. And then one day they went off in the middle of the day. So, it happened at a different time, and we all were like, let's ignore it. And then it kept going off, and I did not wait as long as Pastor Rob for like the building to be engulfed in flames. And I had to go around, because I work in a doctor's office outside of here, and I had to go around room to room, and some of our patients are like 90 years old. And I'm like, come on, we got to take it serious. We got to get out of here. Meanwhile, get everybody out, get everyone out to the hallway, and then it stopped. So we had to go back in. But I was glad that we didn't ignore it, because you shouldn't ignore the alarms in your life. So I was thinking about the alarms that get us to respond. Usually it's like a police siren, a fire truck, an ambulance. Those are the things that we respond to right away, because we think there's imminent danger. And I think that we've trained ourselves to ignore other alarms in our life because we don't think there's imminent danger. So I wanted to talk, because the idea is we want to help people grow. Yeah. I want to grow. Where are alarms going off in your life that you're hitting that snooze button, or you're ignoring the alarm because you don't really think that there's going to be smoke? You don't really think that there's a fire. And let's hit some topics. So how about finances? Where's an alarm that you might see, and what does God have to say about that?
I don't want to talk about this one.
I didn't check his wallet before we sat down.
Nope. I don't want to talk about it. You can answer this.
Okay, but let me tell you this.
I will not have a very pastoral response to
I
this
will
topic.
tell you this. Whatever God gives us, whether it's talents, whether it's kids, whether it's, our job, whether it's money. We are responsible to be good stewards of it.
Yes.
So financial alarms might be a bill comes in and it says your payment is late.
Yep.
So that could be an honest mistake. But guess what, guys? Like, we're supposed to represent Christ in everything that we do. So don't be late on your payments. And if it's going off and you see that it's late and maybe you're in a marriage or you're in a relationship where there's another person who's responsible to pay the bills, don't ignore that late payment. Make sure that you tell them, like, hey, let's sit down. Let's pray about this. Let's get this under control. Let's not overspend. So just some ways that as a Christian, you manage your finances well, because I think that's important. And I'm going to switch right off this topic because Rob is fidgeting in his seat, literally.
No, because this is a very real conversation that my wife and I have been having the past week.
Oh, I promise she didn't tell me that.
Are you sure? Because I wouldn't be surprised.
I'll text her right now and tell her to stop
See
texting
what happens
me.
when everybody's friends. No, but I think just to kind of, as much as I don't want to talk about this, let's press in just for another second.
Okay.
There's other warning signs, right, of finance alarms going off, right? Other than just, we missed a payment. And I think sometimes we miss those warning signs and it causes to fuel the fire instead of help us put it out.
So like living beyond your means, what do you mean? Tell me.
No, yes. I mean, those are definitely ones, but I think what ends up happening is those alarms have gone off long before that one is triggered.
Right before the late payment statement comes in. Yes,
exactly.
You're right.
Because there's a reason why you spend what you spend, right? You don't just do it because very, very rarely do people go into debt. Not all the time, but a majority of the time, do people go into debt because they just spend frivolously, right? Like there's other factors that play
absolutely
into that,
absolutely, and that's what we want to get to the heart of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think sometimes what happens is we should catch the alarm of the discontent in our hearts, right? I think when that starts to go off, when you're starting to notice that in your situation or your circumstances or your relationships or your job or whatever it is, you just have this discontent, like it's just not enough.
Yeah.
There's one of your first alarms, because what ends up happening there is if you don't address that alarm, the next alarm is I'm going to give myself enough. Right. So then you start to spend because it's like, well, I don't think I have enough. I'm going to go get what I think I need. And I'm going to spend whatever I need to spend in order to try to fill that hole or turn off that other alarm when it never does turn it off. And then down the road, oh my gosh, look at this credit card bill. How did this happen?
That's what I was going to say. It's a trap. It's a trap because it will make you feel better in the moment. It absolutely will. Buying that new thing, going on that trip, going to that expensive dinner.
Retail therapy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels great in the moment, but definitely not in the long term. So like you said, the discontent in your heart is an alarm. But for some people, they get into financial problems for different reasons. It's survival. But there's an alarm that goes off there too. If you're in trouble, like, hello, church, let's step up. When we see people that are in trouble, let's make sure that this is a welcoming, loving, wonderful place to come to. I don't just mean the building of the church. I mean the people of the church. Be that kind of person that's open, that if someone's in trouble and they need your help to figure out their finances because they're just struggling to feed their kids.
That's right.
Like, church, we need to be there to help people.
That's right.
So it's both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
You may see the alarm going off in someone else's life, and it might not just be because they're being frivolous. It might be because they're trying to survive.
Exactly.
So let's be a society and people that are trying to help others. Definitely putting it out there. And that's one of the other ones I wanted to go to. We should
do a topic an episode one week just on finances.
We should.
We should.
But we should probably get better at our own first.
I'm very good at finances.
Actually, we could have...
If you want to know how to do a lot with a little, I'm your guy.
There you go. You make that macaroni salad stretch through the week, right?
Exactly.
We've been there. My husband and I, when we first got married, man, I'm telling you, a lot of spaghetti dinners because you find that spaghetti sometimes drops to the price of like 59 cents a box.
Exactly.
Could feed your family. Anyway, and that's a true thing. But so those alarms are there, and we want to help people on both sides of it so that you don't fall into that trap, but so that you also can be the hand that's extended to help pull someone else out of that trap. How about societal alarms? And we may just get stuck here. I may never get any further. Ooh. So what alarms are going off in our society? Maybe it's just your little microcosm of the world. what are some of the alarms and what can you do to help, or what are we doing that we're ignoring them?
Give me an example of a society.
Okay, hot button topic.
And just so you know, we have 7 minutes left.
Wow.
I know.
Okay, hot button topic that I've noticed. It's not really in our state. I don't notice it so much here, although it could be happening here. Homelessness is a huge problem that's going on.
Yeah.
People on both sides of the coin are like, so I was watching something that's going on in California. So to our friends and loved ones out in California, I know it's a huge problem in areas out there. And there are people that are just hot, screaming, yelling about it. And I'm like you said about finances, that didn't happen overnight. Like first there was one tent set up, then there were 2, then there were 20, and now there's 3,000 or however many people are homeless there. What are we not doing as Christians when we see the first tent go up? Like how can when we're ignoring that first alarm and hitting the snooze button going, well, there's one person, who's, and actually my daughter taught me something very interesting to say that I thought was really cool. Rather than calling a person homeless, it should be a person who's experiencing homelessness.
That's good.
And I thought that that's so good because it changed, like, let's change our mindset right away. When you see someone in trouble, they aren't the trouble. They're a person who's experiencing trouble. So what does the church do to help something like that?
Yeah, I think one of the unfortunate things that I think of that the church does, and this is not the answer people are going to like to hear, but I think it's unfortunately
we want the truth.
The answer that comes to mind right away is when we see someone that is experiencing homelessness, for whatever reason it may be, we don't know the reason. We just assume the reason of, wow, they really screwed themselves up.
Right.
I bet they're addicted to something, or I bet they
That's back to our judgment
gambled.
podcast.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So unfortunately, like, because I've experienced this enough with different conversations and experiences with different people, like that tends to be the very first thing that we think of when you see a homeless person. Of, wow, they really screwed themselves over on that.
Right. And that's the thing, is that we are so prone to judge right away rather than just looking at someone and saying like, okay, well, what if that was me?
Yeah.
If that was me, would I really want everyone just sitting there passing, whatever silent judgment on me and not offering me $5 to help me out or a job or something?
But even that, right? Like, I cut you off. I'm sorry. But even that, like,
he's not really sorry.
No, not really.
Okay.
I just had to say that.
Let's do a podcast
but
about
like
being sorry.
the whole I can't even give them $5. Typically people won't, because they make another judgment of, well, they're just going to blow that money on alcohol, on drugs,
on whatever,
whatever it may be. So then it's crazy how the human mind works with this, right? Like then we'll even convince ourselves that we're doing them a favor by not helping them.
Yep. So let me do a blanket statement here for societal problems since we're tight on time. Share the love of Jesus Christ. Like, you have been given this lavish love from God. He offers you salvation from your sins forever. You can be with him forever. Walk with him. Be in a loving relationship with the God who wants to love you. So whatever it looks like for you to share the love of Jesus, not the judgment that you think he has or whatever else crazy thoughts that we have. Share the love of Jesus and don't worry about what that person does with it. Let them decide what they're going to do with it. You be the person to share the love.
Yep.
You know that God says in scripture, love covers a multitude of sins. So if you're that person, like I have definitely been guilty of, where immediately I'm thinking that person committed whatever sin and that's why they're in trouble, and I'm working so hard to not think that way. I just want to love people. I want to love people and I want them to love me back. That's the way I want to be. So share the love of Jesus. Do what God said. Love covers a multitude. So extend love, whatever it looks like. Maybe it's going to look like in our society where everybody's so angry at each other. Maybe you just need to be that happy person. I said this to you earlier today, and I'll say it to you guys that are watching and listening. Be the person that someone else is praying for. Yeah. Someone's praying. I hope someone's nice to me today. Be an answer
to a prayer.
Yeah, you be the answer today.
That's good.
So that's society. What are some other ones? Do you have one that's going off?
Yeah, I want to jump in with one. I do have an alarm going off, and it's that we want to end soon. But I don't want it. I feel like 20 minutes is too fast.
It's too fast. I think we should go 25.
I want to make sure we give something to someone, But I think there's an alarm that goes off relationally in all of our lives. And I think that would be good if we unpack that just for a minute. Because I bet you many people are experiencing relational alarms.
Right. And not just marriage.
No, absolutely not.
It's one to talk about too.
It could be coworkers. It could be family members. It could be friends. It doesn't matter.
So guess what I think one of the snooze button that we hit.
Yeah.
Something happens and you decide not to deal with it at the moment and you stuff it or you hide it, right? So something happens in your relationship. So, say you make a snarky comment to me.
Nope.
Not that would ever happen.
Happen.
And it's a zinger and it really hurts me. And I choose not to go, hey, like we're friends, that hurt, you know, I don't deal with it. So that's the equivalent of hitting the snooze button, and now it's going to fester inside of me.
Yeah.
And now the next time I see you, maybe there's going to be like a little tension between us, and that can grow and grow. And God has an answer for that, right? He says, do not let the sun go down on your anger. Meaning the principle there is when there's a problem, deal with it in love, like lovingly talk to the other person. What were you thinking?
I think that verse is so good. And I think it's probably one of the most misunderstood verses in the Bible, because I think people read that verse and they think, well, and I'll use the context of marriage just for this one, for the illustration, right? I think some people think that verse means, well, me and my spouse can't go to bed if we're fighting. Right?
David, if you're watching, don't listen to this part. I
me-
make him fight till 3 a.m.
Let me tell you, me and my wife tried that, and neither of us are night people. I'm more of like an 11 to 2 in the afternoon kind of guy. So like by 2 in the morning and we're still fighting, we're not helping anything or anyone. And you know, it's interesting because somebody helped me understand that that's not what that verse means, right? Yeah. It's not a matter of you better work it out before you go to bed.
Shoot. I've been getting that one wrong.
But the thing that someone helped me really understand is you need to be sure that before you separate yourself from that conversation, that you've forgiven that person.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? Like, and you don't need the other person to forgive them.
That's right.
Right?
Actually,
you can
more
forgive.
often than not, I think forgiveness comes without the I'm sorry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that is important for us. If you feel like a relational alarm is going off in your relationships right now, and it could be like you were just saying, like there's this kind of bitterness going back and forth, or just this like constant anger. If you start to notice that you're looking at the other person and you just are having these thoughts of what they've done to you, or you're building a case about them, like that's a big alarm for me. Maybe you've experienced this, or maybe whoever's watching this, you've experienced that relationally as well. Like if you start to look at the person that you're in a relationship with, and all you start to think about is all the things that they've done to hurt you, that are causing you to be upset with them, that's a huge alarm. And the good thing is that case that you're building is really the case for forgiveness, because then you can take all of those things and say, wow, I have not forgiven you for the time that you made that comment about me. I have not forgiven you for the time that you stood me up, and then I saw you posted that you were out with somebody else on Instagram. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you can start working your way through that forgiveness, but use that alarm to catch you and say, okay, wow, I need some work. I got to do some work here.
That's a great flip. Like that's great advice. Like take the thing that's making you upset and flip it into something like, how do I grow in this? How about, since we're talking about relationships, what about the relational issues with the Lord in your faith? Like what are faith alarms that are going off? Because guess what? True Christianity, I almost want to stop using that word. Don't everybody text in right now. Like I want to stop using the word Christianity, but because I think that I think it's been misrepresented so much. You know, and people have done things in the name of God in many religions, and it's not at all who God is. It doesn't represent him well. But, you know, when you're having a problem in your faith walk with the Lord, in your relationship with the Lord, you know, what's one of the early alarms that go off for you when you know, like, I'm going to get myself into trouble here, like I'm causing a problem in my relationship with God? Because God never moves away from us.
Yep.
He's never turning his back on us.
Yeah.
You know, so what is it for you?
I think for me, it's when I say, you know what, I'm not going to pray about this.
Yep.
I'm going to do it myself.
Good. Okay.
You know, like when I start to put some distance between me and God, because I think he hasn't done or given me what I think he should or have done. And it's like, you know what, I'm just going to take matters into my own hands. I'll just take care of it myself, God. You know what? Don't even worry about it. You got a lot to do. I'll do it myself.
That's that early alarm that goes off.
Absolutely.
One that happened for me just the other day. I was too tired when I got home from work. Maybe it was last week. And I didn't get to read the Bible. And I hate when I don't get to read the Bible because I need God's word in me. He says it's alive, it's living, it's my life, it's my bread. I need it. And I couldn't. So I was praying and I made a promise to God. And I was like, it's going to be the first thing that I do tomorrow morning. I promise, Lord, like, please just let me get a good night's sleep, whatever. Go to sleep, wake up, do a few things. Before you know it, I had done like 20 things. I did some laundry. I did some dishes. I did all these things before I go off to a full-time job. So it's justifiable. And I used up all my time and I didn't sit down and read the word. And I'm telling you, I had like the worst day. Not because God punished me or anything. I punished myself. You know, don't think like, oh, God punished you. I love to say that to Rob, actually, when bad things happen to him. Like, God's punishing you because you're mean to me.
Exactly.
But
that's how he works.
That's not how he works at all. But we end up punishing ourselves. So you end up causing problems within your own, like all the voices in my own head are having an argument all day long because I messed up in my relationship with God. And I think if you make a promise, keep the promise. And if you can't keep the promise, address it right away.
Yeah,
That's not hitting the snooze button.
Yep.
Like, hey, I'm really sorry. I didn't get back to you. And I'm sorry. Don't make an excuse. I've been so tempted sometimes. Somebody sends me a text or an email, and I'm telling you, if I know I didn't respond and I should have, the temptation has been there to lie and say, like, oh, I didn't get that.
Yep.
Are you sure you sent that to me? Like the temptation is there.
You texted me that the other day. Busted.
You want to just address it, though. Address it like right away. Any other alarms? But we're in the last few moments that you want to. What about marriage alarms, though? We like that's a lot of people who are watching have.
Oh yeah, real quick light one to end the conversation with.
We
Let's
can't
talk about marriage
Listen,
alarms.
let me just disclaimer: we're not fixing anybody's marriage.
No.
Even if we had hours to do it.
Nope.
But we can try.
Somebody can try to come fix mine if they want.
We can try.
I think for me, marriage alarms are. I'll give a couple. The first one is disproportionate responses.
Ooh,
good, right?
That
was good.
Like a college course.
That was good. What I mean by disproportionate responses is if one of you, I won't say if your wife, because I feel like that's the wrong way to put it. If one of you does something that could be perceived as incredibly minor.
Okay.
They wash a red sock in the whites.
Okay.
Right, and now all your clothes are pink.
You just got to rock the pink.
And yeah,
people.
And you I can speak from experience though, if you wash the whites back enough, they will come back to white. But this is not a past experience. I don't have any experience in this, but whatever. But if that happens and you are basically on the verge of divorce for that,
right.
That's a disproportionate response to something that occurred in your life.
Right.
Typically, that is a very good alarm that there is something going on underneath the surface because you should not get that upset over one instance. That's a very minor thing.
And tips for that is a great place to slam your brakes on and say, hey, let's fix this. Because guess what? In a marriage, when a marriage is starting to turn sour or bad, you need to stop. If it's the girl, the guy, whoever it is in the relationship, the other person in the relationship needs to say, there was a time in my life when I was hoping you would be the voice on the other end of the phone. I couldn't wait. I was hoping if I heard the door open, it was going to be you walking into the room. So you got to go back there because that love can grow again and you can fix the problems in your marriage. You can fix the problems in your marriage. Even the really horrifying problems, they can be fixed.
Yep.
You can fix them and you can restore your relationship.
Yeah.
Was that you or was that like,
me,
is there like an animal under
I just kicked the table.
that's going to bite me? I don't know.
Kick the table.
Listen, so I think that this is a great place for, I don't know if it's a great place for us to stop, but this is a great topic because we could just keep going and going and going.
Totally could.
But I guess I encourage people who are listening today, if you're tempted to hit the snooze button, meaning you don't want to deal with the thing, the alarm just went off, whatever it is in your life, and you don't want to deal with it, you want to hit the snooze button, don't.
Yep.
Make it a short-term goal. Today, deal with whatever the problem is.
I keep thinking of the quote that I said that I heard from another person I shared a few months ago, and it makes me think of it when you say hit the snooze button, because what you're really doing is just avoiding, right? You're avoiding what you need to address.
Sure.
And the quote says, don't ever forget that whatever you bury, you plant, and whatever you plant will grow.
Yep.
So anytime you're tempted to hit that snooze button, don't forget that you're basically planting whatever it is that you're avoiding when you say, no, I'm not going to deal with this today.
And if you're avoiding it,
will grow.
And if you're avoiding it, it's because it is uncomfortable. I'm not going to pretend it's not. There's so many things I don't want to deal with in my life. There's a bigger list of things I don't want to deal with than there is list of things that I do want to deal with. And that's disproportionate.
Yep.
That can change. Life wasn't supposed to be that way. God never intended that. If your list of stuff that I don't feel like dealing with is really, really long, then you need to fix that. And you can start today, one at a time, start crossing those things off and make the list of, these are all the options that I have for today that I can deal with. It should be a lot longer.
Totally.
And we talked about that when we said about bitterness. Bitterness isn't something that you wake up with. It's something that you planted.
Wow. Come on.
Come on.
Somebody repost that somewhere. Well, hey, I think as we kind of wrap up, because we're past our 20 minutes, but
All
this
right.
was
We're
still
liars.
really good.
What can you
I
say?
think the final encouragement to all of us would be just to go today and be aware of any alarms that are going off around you,
Yep.
whether it's relational, whether it's financial, whatever it may be. If you're finding yourself having disproportionate responses to people, that's your alarm. If you're finding yourself just having unexplained anger or for whatever it
Yep.
may be, that's an alarm. If you're walking around looking at someone and all you see in the back of your mind is all the things that they did to you, that's an alarm. And so I would encourage all of us today as we kind of go from here, maybe when you hit stop or when you unplug the headphones or whatever it may be, just take a second and ask God to show you what alarms are going off in my life right now that I need to address and not just avoid.
And I'm going to say this to you guys too. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't make a difference, that you can't change something.
Yep.
It always starts with one person. You can. We talked about some big topics. We talked about some very personal topics, and we did them real fast. But you can make a difference, whether it's in your society or your marriage, your workplace, whatever it is, you can decide. If I don't remember anything else that Patsy and Rob said, I remember that they said, I'm supposed to lead with love, the same love that God gives to me. So just make that your goal for today and, going forward. You can make a difference. We all can. And if each one of us made that decision today, what a different world we might have by tomorrow.
Absolutely. Well, hey, we hope that this was something that was beneficial to you. I know for me, it was definitely very challenging and eye-opening, and I hope it was for you as well. And if this was something that you got something out of, would you do us a favor? Would you help us by spreading the word about what's going on here at the Discipleship Track podcast? And you can do that by reposting the video that you're watching. You can do it by sharing the recordings on your social media outlets and just talk about the things that we're talking about. Help people understand the things that we're understanding as we dialogue here. But let's grow the community together so that we can really grow together and really live a life that's fully devoted to Him. Also want to just say again, if you have a future episode suggestion, a topic you'd like us to talk about, or a question or a comment, we want to hear about those as well. Email us anytime at discipleshiptrack@powerhousecc.org, or you can just leave a comment in the video below. We check them all throughout the week, so if you're not catching us while we're live, don't worry. You can still leave a comment now.
And maybe I'll get a Facebook page, then I can answer. Because all the answers are from Rob right now.
Let's not.
So if you don't like them, it's him.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, hey, we hope that this was something that was a good time for you. I know we had a good time, and we look forward to doing it again. No, we're not going to do it next week.
That's right. We're going to be off for a little while.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're gone too next week.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
We're both away. So
who's going to miss us? You know what?
Show of hands in the comments. Who's going to miss us? And there's no one. Just kidding.
That's okay.
Oh, look at all those hands going up in the comments. There they are. Man, they're freezing the computer. But anyway, hey guys, we hope you have an amazing day. Look for those alarms. Catch them, address them, and turn them off.
And tell us about it.
And tell us about it.
Right.
And we will catch you in a couple weeks, refreshed and ready to go for the next episode of the podcast.
And hopefully a little tanner.
Oh, we'll see. All right, guys. Have a great day.